folks, welcome to Anatomy and Physiology on Demand, and today we are going to do a lab session on the knee joint. Now at this point we've already learned the bones related to the knees, so we are going to put them in their proper anatomical positioning and talk about a few other structures related to the knee joint. So on each of these pictures, each of these slides, I'm going to have the same three pictures. Starting with the far left, this is always going to be a posterior view of the knee joint with the thigh up above and the leg area below. In the middle will be a straight on anterior view of the knee. And then on the far right will be an anterior view of the knee where some of the structures anteriorly have been pulled off to the side so that you can see in between them. So the first structure in the knee joint obviously is the femur, so that's your thigh bone. And so it is clearly labeled with a red arrow on all three of these pictures. Moving on, now we want to identify the tibia. So as you can tell, the tibia is the fatter of the two bones. And then also now is a good time to remember that the tibia has that medial malleolus, which means it's the medial of the two bones in your leg. And so when you have the anterior view, if you can identify the tibia, and then on the next slide, the fibula, which you know is lateral, now you can tell whether or not that picture is of a right knee area or a left knee area. So pause it if you have to and figure out, if this was yours, would it be your right one or would it be your left one? Okay, moving on. This illustrates why I have that third picture where the dotted area is here in the center. That is where the patella is located, but it's encased anteriorly by these structures. And so you have to go to the semi-oblique anterior picture and in order to actually see the patella's location. All right, so that's the setup and everybody should be very happy with it. So let's learn what all of these brown structures are. The first one, which is only seen anteriorly, is called the quadriceps tendon. So if you recall, your quadriceps muscles are on your anterior thigh. This actually is a group of muscles, and what is unique about them is all of them are going to share one tendon, and that tendon is known as the quadriceps tendon. So all four quadriceps muscles go to one tendon. And then if we follow that tendon as it travels distally, you can see it goes to the patella. And then we are going to have a structure that goes from the patella to the tibia. And that is going to be called the patellar ligament. So now you're going, so Dr. Powell, why was the other one called a tendon and this one's called a ligament? Well, the first one was called a tendon because it went from muscle to bone, and that's what tendons usually do. And the second one is called a ligament because it's going from bone, the patella, to bone, the tibia, okay? Specifically, it's going to be attaching to the tibial tuberosity part of the tibia. So those are ligaments. Yes, you will hear some people call it the patellar tendon, but it is not a tendon. However, microscopically, they're both identical because they're both dense, regular connective tissue. All right. Now, the next thing is remembering that the tibia is medial. We are going to have a structure that goes from the femur to the tibia. In other words, from bone to bone. Dense regular connective tissue, so that's going to be a ligament. So this one that's on the medial aspect is called the medial collateral ligament. So before I go to the next slide, notice the one I'm pointing to here, which is going from the femur to the fibula. Try to predict what that one's going to be called. Yes, that's right. It's called the lateral collateral ligament. So the medial collateral ligament and the lateral collateral ligament can be clearly seen on all three of these photos. Now we are going to look at these disc-like structures that are between the tibia and the femur. They actually sit right on the condyles of the tibia, and they are thicker or fatter on the outside, and then they actually taper or flatten out medially, and they're kind of C-shaped pieces. They are discs of cartilage. We'll learn a lot more about them in lecture. And so the one that is on the medial aspect is called the medial meniscus. And then still staying on the tibia, we have another one that's now on the lateral aspect of the tibia because it's close to the fibula, which is the lateral bone. And so the one that is on the lateral aspect of the tibia is going to be called the lateral meniscus. Now we have two more structures, and those structures are tucked inside the actual knee joint, and they cross. And the Latin word for cross is cruciate. So those are going to be our two cruciate ligaments. So starting first with the anterior cruciate ligament. But first, let's go all the way here to the left picture. And what I want you to notice is that both of these can be seen posteriorly because they both attach posteriorly on the femur. And then the one that I am pointing to will actually go from a posterior attachment on the femur to two posterior attachments on the tibia. Whereas the one that the red arrow is pointing to on this one has a posterior attachment to the tibia, but then it dives anteriorly. So you can see it crossing in front of the other one on this anterior view, and that's why it's called the anterior cruciate ligaments. So in case you're thinking to yourself, oh, is that the ACL? Yes, it is. However, in this class, to receive credit, you've got to write all the words, because the C of the MCL stands for collateral and the medial collateral ligament, whereas the C of the ACL and PCL stands for cruciate, as in the anterior and posterior cruciate ligaments. So this slide now is showing our last ligament, the posterior cruciate ligament, which on the far right you can see is definitely posterior to the anterior one. And if you look at the picture on the far left, you can see that the posterior cruciate ligament actually splits, and both parts are staying posterior on the tibia. And that's it for this particular video, short and sweet. So thank you for all your hard work, and I will see you again in class soon. Email if you have any